There's a moment quiet, almost unnoticeable, when your body tries to tell you something. Not with pain, not with a loud warning, but with a whisper. A hesitation as you step off a curb. A pause before you rise from your favorite chair. A slight wobble on the last stair that didn't used to be there. You brush it off. Maybe you were just tired. Maybe the floor was a little slick. Maybe. But deep down, you know something's changing. Walter didn't notice it all at once. It began subtly, like the way summer fades into fall. He was 68, retired, living a quiet life in Savannah, Georgia. He played golf once a week, walked the dog every morning, and still washed his car by hand. He felt good, proud, independent. But then came the little sense, the days when he needed the handrail to pull himself up the stairs, the moments he caught himself avoiding long walks, the times he stood up too quickly and had to grab the table for balance. It wasn't pain that worried him. It was that growing sense of fragility, that something steady and reliable inside him. His legs were no longer what they used to be. It was like trying to drive a car with soft tires. You could still go, but you didn't feel safe doing it. Here's the truth, one that too many of us learn too late. Your legs weaken first. Not your arms, not your back, not your hands. Your legs, the pillars that carry you through life, the foundation of your freedom. And when they go, they don't scream, they whisper. And if you don't listen, those whispers grow into something louder: instability, a fall, an injury, a long recovery, or worse, a life where you begin to lose your independence, one step at a time. Sarcopenia, that's the word doctors use. It sounds clinical, doesn't it? Cold. Scientific. But what it really means is something very human, the slow, silent shrinking of your muscle mass as you age, particularly in your legs. Starting around age 40, you begin to lose about 1% of muscle mass each year. By your 60s or 70s, that loss speeds up. And unless you're doing something about it, it adds up fast. Walter had never heard of the word before, but he was living it. He began skipping stairs, then skipping his golf game. Then he stopped going to the farmer's market downtown because the parking lot was just too far of a walk. And yet, nothing hurt. That was the scariest part. His legs weren't injured. They were simply fading. It wasn't until he slipped slightly in the grocery store, not a fall, just a stumble, that the reality hit him. This is how it starts. That slip wasn't just about balance. It was about losing trust in his body. And once that trust starts to erode, it creeps into everything. You stop doing what you love. You become cautious. You feel older than you are. But what if you could stop that slip before it happens? What if your legs are whispering now when you still have time to listen? This video is about exactly that. Not fear, not despair, but power. The power to take back your strength, to rebuild the foundation of your body, to make your legs strong again, not just so you can move, but so you can live fully, freely, without hesitation. And the surprising part? It starts with what's on your plate. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, I'll share 3 simple, affordable foods that can transform your leg strength, support your balance, and help you feel more secure, more confident, more you. These aren't magic tricks. They're backed by science, real stories, and practical steps you can take today, no matter your age. But before we dive in, if this message speaks to you, if you feel that whisper in your own legs, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. It gives us the motivation to keep creating content that matters to people like you, people who want to stay active, independent, and strong. Your support means the world. Now, a quick quiz before we continue. Let's see how well you're in tune with your body. Which of these is the most common early sign of leg weakening as we age? A. Pain in the knees after exercise. B. Slight difficulty standing up from a chair without using your hands. Comment your answer below, A or B. And let's see how many of us are already on the path to listening to what our legs are trying to say. You've just heard the whisper, the quiet warning from your legs. But what happens next? In the next part of our story, we'll follow Walter as he reaches a turning point that could change everything. Because sometimes one small moment is all it takes to begin again. Walter hadn't planned on making any changes. Like many of us, he thought slowing down was just part of the deal, the quiet tax of growing older. He had always been the strong one, the reliable one, the one who carried groceries without thinking twice. So when things shifted, when he started skipping the back nine at the golf course or taking the elevator instead of the stairs, he told himself it was just being realistic. But it was that near fall at the grocery store that shook something loose inside him. It wasn't dramatic. No crash, no bruises, just a slip. But what lingered after was the realization that the trust he once had in his own body was beginning to crack. That night, Walter sat in his recliner, a half-eaten sandwich beside him, and stared at his legs. They had taken him through so much in life: military service, long hikes through the Blue Ridge Mountains, dancing with his wife on their 40th anniversary. And now they were tired. And he was afraid. The next morning, almost on impulse, he called an old friend from high school, Judy. She had always been the spirited one, full of laughter and the kind of energy that made you feel like anything was possible. They hadn't spoken in years, but she picked up right away. It turned out she was visiting Savannah for the week, and they agreed to meet for coffee at a little cafe near Forsyth Park. When Walter saw her walk in, he was stunned. Judy, now 70, still moved with the ease and confidence of someone half her age. She was dressed for a walking tour, complete with sneakers and a sun hat. After a warm hug and a bit of small talk, Walter leaned in and asked her, "What's your secret?" Judy smiled, not with smugness, but with understanding. "I hit a wall too," she said. 5 years ago. My knees buckled just walking to the mailbox. That was my wake-up call. I realized if I didn't fight for my legs, I'd lose more than strength. I'd lose my freedom. That word struck Walter hard: freedom. Judy began to tell him about her journey, not just about exercising or eating better, though those were part of it. She spoke about mindset, that reclaiming her strength wasn't about vanity, but about choosing to live on her own terms. She joined a walking club, started going to aqua aerobics at the community pool, and began incorporating resistance band workouts into her mornings. "It's not about being an athlete," she said. "It's about being able to get up, get out, and keep going without fear." For Walter, it was like seeing a door open he hadn't realized was there. Until that conversation, he didn't believe strength could return once it had slipped away. But Judy's story gave him something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Real tangible hope. That night, he pulled out a notebook and wrote a single sentence: "I'm not done walking yet." From there, things didn't change overnight. Walter started small. A daily 10-minute walk around the block. Light stretches with a towel while watching morning news. He watched online videos for seniors doing low-impact balance exercises and bookmarked a beginner Tai Chi session in the park. Each small action became a stepping stone, and with each step his confidence returned. He felt it in little things, standing up without bracing the armrest, walking farther, without needing to rest, even catching himself humming in the kitchen as he moved around more freely. It wasn't about going back in time. It was about moving forward with purpose. Walter realized something powerful. Your legs don't just carry your weight. They carry your courage, your independence, your ability to live the life you choose. And while aging may change the pace, it doesn't have to change the path. Strength isn't something we lose overnight, and it's not something we have to give up without a fight. There's a turning point in each of us, a moment when we decide not to settle for decline, but to push for revival. Walter found his, and so can you. The next part of this video will show you how food, yes, simple everyday food, can be a powerful ally in this journey. Stay with me. You're just getting started. Walter's turning point lit a spark, but transformation needs fuel, and it starts with what we eat. In the next part of his journey, we'll discover how one simple, powerful food became the foundation for rebuilding his strength, one bite at a time. Walter had always been a meat and potatoes kind of guy. Steak on Sundays, roast beef on holidays, bacon with his breakfast eggs. Fish to him was something you ordered once in a while at a restaurant, and usually fried. But after his conversation with Judy and the quiet awakening that followed, he found himself reading labels, turning down processed meals, and asking questions he'd never cared to ask before. One day at the market, standing in front of the seafood counter, he saw the salmon fillets laid out like soft orange jewels on crushed ice. He hesitated. Then he remembered something Judy had said over coffee, with that unmistakable fire in her voice. Eat for your legs. Think of food as fuel for your freedom. So he asked the fishmonger for a piece of wild-caught salmon, and went home with a determination that felt brand new. What Walter didn't know yet but was about to discover is that fatty fish isn't just healthy, it's powerful. Especially for aging legs. You see, as we get older, our muscles naturally become more vulnerable to inflammation, slower to recover from daily stress, and more likely to break down without proper support. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and trout are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, high-quality protein, and vitamin D, a trifecta of nutrients that directly support muscle health, reduce joint pain, and build the foundation for stronger movement. Omega-3s are particularly special. These essential fats act like a natural lubricant for your joints and muscles, soothing inflammation from the inside out. That means fewer aches after walks, more fluid motion, and even reduced stiffness in the morning. But the benefits don't end there. Omega-3s help preserve lean muscle mass, support circulation, and speed up recovery, making every step, every bend, and every climb feel more stable, more secure, more possible. Walter, curious and motivated, began experimenting. He grilled the salmon with lemon and garlic. He tried tuna salad on whole grain toast for lunch. He discovered that sardines on crackers, something he once found odd, had a satisfying crunch and deep flavor when topped with a few thin slices of red onion. His meals became more colorful, more intentional. And slowly, so did his life. It wasn't a miracle. His legs didn't transform overnight. But 3 weeks in, he noticed a difference. Less soreness after his morning walks. More energy throughout the day. He stood longer at the sink while doing dishes without shifting from foot to foot. And most importantly, the fog of doubt that had hung over his confidence began to lift. He felt like a man coming back into his own. The science backed him up. Studies show that seniors who regularly consume omega-3 rich fish experience slower muscle loss and better mobility than those who don't. One study even found that older adults supplementing with fish oil showed increased muscle strength during resistance training compared to those who didn't. The nutrients in fish aren't just passive passengers in your body, they're active agents of repair and resilience. For those who don't enjoy seafood, there are other ways to reap the benefits. Plant-based sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts offer a dose of omega-3s, though not in the same form or potency. Fish oil supplements are also an option easy to incorporate into a daily routine and widely available. The key is consistency. Just like your muscles' nourishment needs regular attention to thrive, Walter began calling Fridays Fish Day. It became a ritual, a small celebration of the progress he was making. He even invited his neighbors over one evening for grilled trout and roasted vegetables. They shared stories, laughter, and second helpings. As he watched everyone eat and smile around his kitchen table, he realized this wasn't just about his legs anymore. It was about reclaiming joy, inviting life back in and fueling his future with choices that mattered. Food is never just food. It's a message to your body. And when you choose foods that heal, restore, and strengthen, you're not just eating, you're deciding who you want to be tomorrow. So if your legs have started to whisper, if you're looking for strength not just in movement, but in mindset, start with what's on your plate, because something as simple as a piece of salmon could be the beginning of everything. Walter's experience with omega-rich fish opened his eyes to the healing power of food. But rebuilding strength isn't just about one nutrient. It's about creating a balanced, supportive foundation. In the next chapter of his journey, two surprisingly simple food groups, dairy and leafy greens, would step in as quiet heroes, helping his muscles recover and his bones grow stronger with every mindful, nourishing choice he made. After embracing the benefits of omega-rich fish, Walter began to feel more in tune with his body. He wasn't sprinting through life, but there was something new in his stride: steadiness, maybe even quiet strength. But as Judy had told him, rebuilding his legs was more than just adding one food. It was about nourishing his entire body with the building blocks it had been craving for years. And the next two powerhouses came straight from two humble categories: dairy and leafy greens. Walter had grown up in a house where milk was a staple. He remembered drinking it with cookies as a kid, pouring it over cereal before school. But he'd drifted away from it in adulthood, influenced by modern diet trends and headlines that made dairy seem outdated or unnecessary. But when he started researching more deeply, he was surprised by what he found. Dairy, especially from sources like milk, yogurt, and cheese, isn't just rich in calcium. It's also packed with high-quality protein, one of the most essential nutrients for maintaining muscle mass. And for people over the age of 60, that's critical. According to the National Institutes of Health, older adults should aim for at least 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily to counteract age-related muscle loss. That's significantly more than the average adult consumes. What Walter hadn't realized was how much muscle his body had quietly lost over the years. It wasn't about how he looked, but about how he moved. And every time he reached for a yogurt parfait in the morning or added a slice of cheese to his lunchtime sandwich, he was rebuilding not just muscle, but confidence. 1 cup of Greek yogurt provides around 20 grams of protein. A glass of milk offers about 8 grams. These weren't just numbers. They were the materials his body needed to keep standing tall. But calcium was just as important. Strong muscles mean little without a strong frame to hold them. As we age, our bones become less dense, more fragile. In fact, according to the CDC, about 1 in 5 women over age 50 will experience a bone fracture due to osteoporosis, and those fractures often begin in the hips or legs. Calcium plays a direct role in keeping bones resilient, and dairy is one of the most bioavailable sources of it. Walter started ending his day with a warm mug of milk and a sprinkle of cinnamon. It became a ritual, one that soothed not just his body, but his sense of self-care. Still, dairy was only part of the equation. Judy had told him that if dairy was the anchor, leafy greens were the sail, and she was right. It started with spinach. Walter wasn't a salad guy, but he could toss a handful into a smoothie. Then came kale sautéed with garlic arugula, tucked into a turkey sandwich, collard greens simmered in broth. He didn't force himself to like them all, but the more he experimented, the more he found ways to enjoy their clean, slightly earthy flavor. What mattered more were the nutrients. Leafy greens are packed with vitamin K, which plays a key role in calcium absorption and bone health. Without enough vitamin K, even high calcium intake can fall short. Studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition have shown that individuals with higher vitamin K levels have a 30% lower risk of hip fractures. Add in magnesium, which helps muscles relax and contract efficiently, and potassium, which maintains fluid balance and nerve signals. And these greens became a true powerhouse for movement. Walter began to notice changes not just in how far he could walk, but in how he recovered. He had less cramping after activity, fewer aches at night. His balance improved, and he found himself reaching for the railing less often. The stairs at the public library, the ones that had once intimidated him, no longer felt like a threat. Food, he realized, was not just nutrition. It was conversation between him and his future self. Every forkful of sautéed kale, every spoon of yogurt was a sentence saying, "I still choose to move forward." The power of these foods wasn't in their trendiness or exotic nature. They were everyday ingredients, affordable, available at any grocery store. Yet they carried with them decades of scientific backing and centuries of wisdom. Together they offered Walter not just strength in his legs, but strength in his spirit. And now, with his meals aligned to support his mobility, he began to wonder, what else could he do? Where could his legs carry him next? Because once your foundation is strong, the possibilities don't just return, they multiply. Walter's story didn't end with a single decision. It unfolded step by step, bite by bite, with every quiet choice he made to reclaim his strength. From the first uncertain days when he felt his legs falter to the moment he took action. After nearly slipping in the grocery store, he began to see that aging wasn't about giving up control. It was about rediscovering it. He started with a single conversation, one that lit a spark of hope. Judy's story gave him a glimpse of what could be possible if he didn't surrender to decline, but instead leaned into action. And from there, he built a new rhythm. Fish Fridays became a ritual. Morning walks grew longer, steadier. A Greek yogurt parfait became part of his breakfast routine. He swapped out processed snacks for crunchy walnuts, creamy cheese, and smoothies packed with spinach and kale. It wasn't just about nutrients. It was about belief. Every new food choice wasn't just feeding his muscles, it was feeding a mindset of momentum. Strength wasn't something he had to chase like it was lost forever. It was something he could rebuild, nurture, and grow even in his late 60s. Especially in his late 60s. Now Walter walks every morning with a small group of neighbors. He's the unofficial leader of the bunch, always the first to say, "Let's add one more block today." He's gone back to playing a little golf, not competitively, but for joy. He visited Yellowstone last fall, something he thought he'd never have the stamina for again. He even started dancing again, slow steps at first, but filled with rhythm and confidence. But more than anything, Walter found something even deeper than physical strength. He found freedom. The kind of freedom that comes when your body can still do what your heart wants. When you can say yes to experiences, to movement, to life. When you can rely on your own 2 feet literally and emotionally. The lesson. It's never too late to reclaim your foundation. Your legs aren't just there to get you from one room to another. They carry your independence, your identity, your sense of possibility. And while age may challenge them, it doesn't have to defeat them. Not if you're willing to take small, meaningful steps forward. So what can you take away from Walter's journey? Start where you are. Don't wait for a crisis to begin paying attention. If your legs are whispering, listen. If they're already speaking louder, don't panic. There's still so much you can do. Add a serving of fatty fish this week. Pour yourself a glass of milk. Toss a handful of greens into your next meal. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just have to begin. And if you've already started, keep going. Your future self is cheering for you. Now let's see how well you've been paying attention. Which of the following combinations offers the best natural support for both muscle and bone health as we age? A. Potato chips and orange juice. B. Fatty fish, dairy products, and leafy greens. Comment A or B below. And let's see how many of you are on the path to stronger legs and a stronger life. And now I'd love to hear from you. What part of Walter's journey resonated with you the most? Was it his turning point? His small routines, or the way food helped him feel alive again? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your insight might inspire someone else who's just beginning their own path. If this story gave you hope or made you think differently about aging, movement, and food, please consider subscribing to this channel. It means the world to us, and it keeps this community growing with strength, kindness, and knowledge. Until next time, stay strong, stay moving, and remember your legs are not just for walking, they're for living.